3 a.m. The shrill ring of my phone shattered the silence of my penthouse. I bolted upright, heart pounding. Who calls at this hour? As the CEO of a tech corporation, I live with my phone glued to my hand. But a call at 3 a.m.? That meant trouble. My hand trembled as I answered. On the other end, a distorted voice cut through me like ice. Do you remember your sins? My penthouse perched atop a Manhattan high-rise, immaculate and extravagant. Polished wooden floors, a crystal chandelier dripping warm yellow light, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city that never sleeps. Yet inside, loneliness pressed in like heavy fog. Beyond the glass, distant cars hummed along, their red and green lights flickering, mocking the unease gnawing at me. I am David Miller, 45 years old. To the world, I'm the perfect success story. A tech CEO gracing magazine covers, delivering keynotes at prestigious conferences. But beneath the glittering surface, I am no saint. My past is a graveyard of secrets I thought I had buried forever. Claire, my wife, also lives in this apartment. She sleeps in her own room now. Our marriage has long turned into more of a contract than love. That question, do you remember your sins, echoed in my skull. Who could possibly know? I had erased every trace, paid enough to ensure no one could resurrect the past. Yet, that voice wasn't a prank. It felt like someone lurking in the shadows, staring straight into my soul. I tried calling the number back, but the screen read, "Number does not exist." I had one of my company's IT guys trace it. Nothing. The next day, I walked into the boardroom with dark circles under my eyes. Colleagues assumed I had burned the midnight oil for a new project. None of them guessed the truth, that I'd been haunted by a ghostly call. The following night, at precisely 3 a.m., the phone rang again. My hand trembled as I picked it up. The same voice whispered, clearer this time. Tonight was only the beginning. Tomorrow, we'll talk again. Moments later, my inbox chimed. An anonymous email, only one line long. You can't hide forever. I deleted the email instantly, yet the unease clung to me like the night itself. I told myself it had to be blackmail, a rival playing dirty. I'd survived countless enemies before. This would be no different. But deep down, I knew this was no game. I tried to close my eyes, but minutes later I jolted awake. In the darkness, I swore someone was watching me. The clock read 3:30 a.m. From that night on, I knew the real nightmares had begun. The second night, 3 a.m. The phone rang again. This time I didn't flinch. I gripped the phone tightly, trying to steady myself. On the other end, the distorted voice chuckled softly, then spoke slowly. Brooklyn, 2001. You left them. You think I don't know? The words sliced through the armor I'd built. I went numb, mouth open but speechless. The darkness of my apartment grew heavier. City lights leaked pale stripes across the window. I looked down. Cars still moved, bars still buzzed, neon signs flickered. In my mind, a memory surfaced. An old bar in Brooklyn where I'd spent my youth, where I'd watched a girl walk away in despair. Anna Carter. I still remembered her name, though I had tried to forget. In 2001, she was 22, a waitress in that bar. I was a cocky young tech worker, treating life as a game. Anna loved me, believed my promises. When she became pregnant, I walked away, leaving her alone. Now this voice recited every detail like an indictment. I knew this couldn't be an outsider. But who? I had erased everything, paid hush money, changed numbers, switched companies. How could they know so precisely? I hired a trusted cybersecurity expert, handed him the call recordings and email address. He worked overnight, only to report the next morning. Nothing, sir. All traces are hidden behind sophisticated encryption. I went to work in a daze. During the meeting, the clock seemed to tick slower. I felt watched, through the projector, through my colleagues' eyes, through the darkness of the office itself. 6. Climax. The third night, when the phone rang, I didn't answer. Minutes later, a text arrived with an attachment. My heart stopped. A scanned birth certificate. Father's name blank. Mother's name Anna Carter. The child's birth year matched the year I left. Attached was a photo, an infant wrapped in a blanket. Anna beside it, gaunt and staring into the camera with desperate eyes. 7. Falling action. I hurled the phone to the floor, trembling. I had buried this memory for 20 years, yet in days it had been exhumed, raw and unrelenting. I didn't know who I was facing. The child from long ago or someone acting in their stead. 8. Resolution. Transition. Before I could collect myself, one final message appeared. Tomorrow night, I'll tell you who I am. I stared at the glowing blue screen in the dark. For the first time in years, fear crushed me. Not fear of losing money, but of facing my own past. 3 a.m. The phone didn't ring. Instead, a notification lit up on the screen. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm your son. I froze. Just a few simple words, yet they shattered the mask I had worn for over 2 decades. I sat on the edge of my bed, heart racing. Outside, the city lights blazed on as if nothing had changed. But for me, the world had just flipped upside down. A name, an identity, and a truth I could no longer deny. Ethan Carter. If he was the child from 24 years ago, then he was now a grown man. No one knew he existed, not even Claire. I had never mentioned him. I had forced myself to forget. But now, the son I had abandoned wasn't looking to reconnect. He had come back to put me on trial, in his own way. Ethan declared via email that I had 7 days to confess everything publicly, or he would do it for me. I couldn't comprehend how a kid could track, monitor, and attack me with such technical precision. He hadn't just found out who I was. He held my personal records, business documents, even confidential data I'd never shared with anyone. An attached file arrived moments later. A video of me drunk at a 2001 party, kissing Anna in front of a crowd before abandoning her to their laughter. The footage was never public. It must have been filmed secretly. I panicked. Then came a scanned copy of a business contract I once forged, containing money laundering clauses I'd ordered my secretary to destroy. Ethan wasn't ordinary. He was a genius, and the worst kind of tech nightmare I'd ever faced. The final email arrived at 3:15 a.m. I don't want money. I don't want love. I want you to answer for what you've done. 7 days, or I will. I fell back, gasping for air. I'd been threatened before, by rivals, by journalists, but never had I felt so completely exposed. I didn't reply. I had no words. One question rang endlessly in my head. How much longer can I hide? The next morning, I buried myself in paperwork, pretending to be fine. But in my mind, one name kept repeating itself. Ethan. I knew this was only the beginning, and my son, he wouldn't stop, until I was completely destroyed. 3 a.m. I wasn't sleeping. I sat frozen in the dark, staring at my phone. As if on cue, every screen in my apartment lit up. TV, laptop, tablet, all playing the same clip. It was me, standing smug in a crowd, face frozen mid-laugh. Across the screen in blazing red, David Miller, liar. I lunged for the remote, but nothing worked. The devices were locked remotely. I ripped out cords, removed batteries, smashed my phone. Nothing helped. Outside, the giant LED screens in Wall Street were hijacked too. The people of New York, my customers, my investors, my colleagues, were now watching the very past I fought to bury. Ethan wasn't hiding anymore. He was making a statement. He could strip me bare before the world. Only then did I truly understand. Ethan wasn't just a tech genius. He was a 21st century nightmare. No hacker could breach the city's ad networks in a matter of hours, unless they had lived and breathed code since childhood. And he, my son, whom I'd never held even once, was now controlling my entire world with the tap of a finger. The next email arrived with a warning. This is just the warm-up. Resign in 48 hours, or I'll release all the dirt you tried to destroy. Panic set in. If that data went public, illegal payments, political deals, unethical contracts. My career wouldn't just crumble. I'd go to prison. Worse yet, I'd lose Claire, the last piece of family I had left. I scrambled, called lawyers, cybersecurity experts, PR teams, even government contacts. Everyone advised the same. Tread carefully. Soften your tone. Consider partial disclosure to contain the damage. But I knew, if Ethan wanted to, he could detonate everything with a single click. Then Claire called me, for the first time in months. Not to ask how I was, but to ask, "Who is Ethan?" I didn't know how to respond. Her voice trembled with pain and disappointment. I tried to deny it, but she had seen the clip, broadcast across the city. She whispered, "I don't think I ever really knew who you were," then hung up. In that moment, I felt weaker than ever. Overnight, I had lost control. To a son I'd never even seen. I returned to my office, downed a glass of scotch, and stared into the mirror. The man looking back wasn't me. It was a hunted soul. Ethan now held the board. I was just a pawn stumbling in a maze of my own making. There was no choice left. Confess or wait to be destroyed. 3:57 a.m. A message appeared on my laptop screen, despite being offline. Tomorrow night, we meet, face to face. And I knew. There was nowhere left to run. 3 a.m. I stood in a damp alley in Brooklyn, once the site of an old bar, now reduced to crumbling bricks and stained walls. The night wind cut like knives, the smell of garbage mixed with old memories. Then, from the shadows, a voice emerged, no longer masked or distorted. "Hello, David." I turned. Ethan stood there, tall, lean, face expressionless. His eyes pierced through me, like he could see straight into the bare bones of my soul. This meeting place wasn't random. It was where I left Anna 24 years ago, the night she sobbed in the rain. I still remembered her eyes, shattered by betrayal. Now I stood in that same place. No judge, no jury. Just silence, and a son whose very existence was the loudest testimony against me. Ethan. 24. But his posture, his voice, his presence, it all felt far older. He didn't flinch, didn't raise his voice, didn't even frown. "All these years," he said. "Now it's your turn to speak." I couldn't. I had brokered mergers, manipulated boards, negotiated with politicians. But now I stood speechless before my own blood. Ethan pulled out a tablet, tapped it. A recording played. My voice, years ago, calling Anna a burden. I listened to myself, sounding like a coward. Ethan stared at me. "I didn't come to hear apologies. I came to watch you break." I didn't recognize myself anymore. I had climbed so high, thinking power could erase the past. But now, that very past was drowning me, spoken by a child I had never once held. Ethan told his story. His mother died when he was 12. No money, no home. He taught himself to code in a public library. Expelled from school for being too different. Called names. Bullied. Every insult, he reminded himself. You don't need anyone. But the night his mother died, he called my name. No answer. I looked down, not out of shame, but because I suddenly felt small. I once thought I was the center of the world. But to him, I was just a black spot in a childhood he never chose. "I don't want money. I don't need you to call me son. I just want you to own the truth and hurt because of it." He handed me a photo, an old picture of Anna and me, back when we were young. But now, my part had been cut out. "This is my family," he said. "You're not in it." I stood still. The pain wasn't from threats, but from a truth I could never rewrite. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Ethan stared at me for a long moment, then smiled. A smile without joy. "Sorry doesn't fix anything, but at least you said it." He turned away. Before walking off, he looked back once more. "We'll meet again. When I'm ready to finish this." I stood in the cold night, no longer sure who I was anymore. A CEO, a liar, or an unworthy father. The next morning, before I could recover from last night's meeting, My phone rang non-stop. My assistant rushed in, pale-faced. "Mr. Miller, you need to see this." She handed me an iPad. I opened it. A video played. Me, younger, sitting in a car with a foreign man. My lips mouthing numbers. It was a secret recording. Proof of the 2006 money laundering deal. This wasn't a threat anymore. It was war. The video had already been leaked to the company's internal network. Almost 800 employees had seen it. Journalists flooded our lines. The front pages of 3 major financial outlets screamed in bold red. Miller Tech CEO linked to money laundering scandal. The market panicked. Our stock dropped 12% before noon. I felt like I'd been skinned alive. Nothing could shield me now. Claire called. No warmth in her voice this time. Only ice. "Ethan sent me everything." I stayed silent. "Who are you, David?" I thought I could lie to the world, but not to a soul I hurt. Not to a wife finally waking up. Another email at 3 a.m. "I told you, if you wouldn't confess, I'd do it for you." And I'm not done yet. Ethan began releasing data in waves. One file drop every 6 hours. Each package targeted my deepest cracks. Hidden deals, backdoor political favors, fake charity donations. No one defended me. The board met behind my back. Investors demanded audits. Ethan wasn't stabbing me. He was bleeding me out, slowly, precisely. I hired hackers to trace Ethan's IP. Useless. He used no public networks, no footprints. He was a ghost in the machine. I brought in private investigators. Nothing. I used to tell my team, there's no problem money can't solve. Now I sat alone, surrounded by blank monitors, learning that some things, like hatred, can't be bought. A video dropped at exactly 3 a.m. the next day. It showed me in 2004, standing before Anna as she cried. I yelled at her, turned my back, walked away. Ethan added a subtitle. "I used to think my father was just busy. Turns out, he was just too much of a coward to be a dad." The clip went viral. I became the face of fatherly failure, a symbol of corporate hypocrisy. I sat motionless all night. No more calls, no more meetings. Just me, and the same clip on loop. Me turning away. Me silent. And me breaking someone before he had a chance to become whole. At dawn, a final message lit up my screen. "I want you to feel what my mother felt, being quietly erased from the life of the person she trusted most." Ethan wasn't done. And next time, he might not be after my reputation. He might be after what's left of my soul. 3 a.m. No emails, no leaked videos this time. Just one line glowing on my computer screen. "Abandoned warehouse in Queens. Come alone." I read it over and over. No threats, but I knew. This wasn't a game anymore. This was a sentence. I drove through the night to an old industrial zone in Queens. No lights, no people. Only the sound of wind whipping through rusted metal roofs. The warehouse door creaked open when I arrived. Inside, a cold, empty space. One wooden table, one chair, and a wall of monitors. Each screen showed me, at different points in my life. Early startup years, lavish parties, the moment I abandoned Anna. Ethan stood in the center, surrounded by the screens. No longer anonymous, no longer a lost boy. He stood like a judge, and he didn't look at me like a father. He looked at me like a man on trial. "You've got nothing left to lose," Ethan said. "So will you finally tell the truth?" I inhaled. My throat was dry. "Yes," I said. "I left your mother. I chose money over responsibility. I thought I could outrun it all." Ethan didn't nod, didn't speak. He simply opened another screen. It showed his mother on her deathbed, frail, eyes searching for someone who never came. I couldn't look. "She never hated you," Ethan said. "She was just sad that she once believed in you." My hands trembled. "I don't hate you either," he continued. "I just can't forgive someone who lived like I never existed." I whispered. I was afraid. And what are you afraid of now? He asked. I looked up. No longer a CEO. No power. No mask. I'm afraid of living with myself. Ethan stepped forward, handed me a USB drive. It contains everything. Every file I ever gathered. You can release it yourself. Or I will. I held it, felt the weight of it like guilt in my chest. He added, if you truly want to begin again, start with the truth. I didn't know if this was forgiveness, or just one final shot at redemption. I sat down on the wooden chair. Ethan walked away, didn't look back. I sat alone, surrounded by versions of myself, at my worst. The USB still in my hand, heavy as the sins I carried. On the last screen, one line appeared. Choose, Father. I closed my eyes, and for the first time, I didn't try to erase my past. I faced it, ugly, shameful, and I understood. The real judgment starts from within. I got home around 6 a.m. The city was waking up, people rushing to work, traffic buzzing, and I stood in my penthouse, alone. I placed the USB on the table, didn't open it, just stared, as if it were a blade, and I was waiting for the courage to tear through the last layer of lies. All day I stayed in that room. Everything was quiet, eerily quiet. No more phone calls, no more emails, no one calling me Mr. Miller. I turned on the TV. Financial pundits speculated on my resignation. No one knew about the meeting. No one knew about Ethan. Only me, and the silence growing louder like a verdict. I used to be a symbol. Now I was just a man, staring at a life he never truly lived. I had built an empire on lies. To my wife, my friends, myself. I didn't know if Ethan would ever return. But even if he vanished, what he left behind had changed me forever. By sunset, I replayed the clip of Anna on her deathbed. This time, I didn't look away. She didn't blame me. She didn't cry. She just whispered, if you had the chance to do it again, would you choose differently? I had always known the answer, but I had been too much of a coward to say it. I sat at my desk, plugged in the USB. The screen lit up. Over 100 files. Internal emails, audio recordings, videos, corrupt contracts. Each one a slash across the reputation I once thought untouchable. All I needed was one click to send it to the press. I hovered over the cursor. My heart raced. This wasn't a fall, it was a leap. Willingly. I clicked send. Immediately the screen turned black, and then one line appeared. Welcome to the truth. I sat motionless. I didn't know if Ethan wrote it, or if it was me, finally speaking to myself. I didn't sleep, just sat there, watching the city I once ruled. Now the city where I'd learned to be accountable. No knocks on the door, no waiting crowds, and I felt light. Not from forgiveness, but from no longer running. 3 a.m., no call, no voice, just me, and the silence. For the first time in 20 years, I felt peace, even in ruin. And if Ethan was listening, all I wanted to say was, son, I don't expect forgiveness. I only hope you never live the way I did.